Hi, it's Brandy with Fluffy Fleece Macrame Tutorials, and today we're going to learn how to make this cute little tassel, which has a very unique woven head. And for this tassel, we're going to need, these are 4mm cords. It's a triple ply, and they're 15 inches long. So you need 4 of those. And then after you create this little head, you're going to end up putting more cords in the center of it. So for the center part, you're going to need another 4 cords. These are 10 inches long, so those will be used at the end. So we'll set them aside. So taking 1 cord at a time, you're just going to fold them in half, and you're going to start with the first one, and grab your second one. Fold it in half and place it as such. And you want to try, this is a great way to use scraps. So you're typically going to be using kind of small pieces of cord. So you want to keep your cord ends pretty even so that the finished product has the appropriate length for the tassel and the fringe. So we're going to go here. So we did this one first, this one second. We're gonna go in and we're gonna do this opposite to this one. And you're gonna have your ends all even. And then the last one, so you have a loop up here, a loop fold here, a loop fold here, a loop fold here, and you need like your 4th loop fold. So I think this is probably the hardest part to remember what to do, but on the end here you go through and you go in between this loop. And that's how it'll lay. And then you'll need to tighten these up. So it's real simple, just taking the cords together in one hand and pulling them through until they all cinch up into a little square. Like such. So now we have our square, and that's the very center part of this tassel. So we're gonna work around this square to create these rows here. So you're not going to be using 2 cords at a time, which a lot of times when people do this particular knot, they do 2 cords at a time. We're actually going to separate these cords. And we're going to start kind of weaving them. So the first one goes over. You want to try and keep it close to the center. First one goes over, and then the next one goes over it. And you're going to leave this loop at the end because you're going to go all the way around, and this end cord is going to go through that loop. So then your next cord goes over and back, okay, and then over and back. You're just going to keep kind of weaving this over and back like such. So then you're at the end. So you have your loop and you have your end cord. And if you look at this loop that comes off here, you'll see that it goes over the top and then under and through. So we want to go over the top, under the loop, and through and out the back. And when you continue on with this design, after you tighten this up, you always want to make sure you're going in the same direction. So we just went clockwise. So if you got confused and started going counterclockwise, it wouldn't turn out correctly. It would still be a design if you kind of kept repeating it. But on this particular one, every time we go around, we're going to go clockwise. So now we're going to cinch these up, and you tend to have to go through a couple times to tighten these. They like to tighten and loosen and tighten and loosen. So you're just going to keep kind of going around and pulling your cords through while you keep your hand on top of the circle. And it's going to cinch them up and do a little kind of spiral weave. You want this to be quite snug. If it gets loose and you go to make your head, you're going to have like holes in here, and these are going to be really wide. If you make it tight all the way around, then these will all be kind of even in length and evenly spaced around. So this looks good. Like this one's a little bit longer, so I would just kind of come through here and make sure it's snug. So we're going to go around again, same thing, clockwise, and we're going to continue to just create more of this little woven spiral. I go around for tassels, so you can see the center, and then there's 4 rows. So I go around 4 times, and then I continue to create the tassel by adding more fringe ends that go up inside it, and then I will then create the neck. So now what we're going to do is the 3 more rows, so that we have a total of 4 rows around here. So same thing. This is where we started before. You can start anywhere. You don't have to start at the same place. You just have to make sure you go clockwise. So back around. You want to keep your little loop open here. And over. And then to the back again, over, to the back, over, to the back. So you're at the end, and you're gonna go over the top and through the back there. So we're at the same place we were before, and we're just gonna go around, and we're gonna keep our hand on this and tighten the little spiral. Nice and snug is very, very important when you're doing this. So there we are. So we'll still need 2 more rows. So over and back. Now when you're making these, you don't have to use scrap cord. This is just what a lot of artists do. We're always trying to find ways to use our scrap cord in unique ways. You can make this with longer cord, and in doing so you would end up with a longer fringe on your tassel end. But proportion-wise, this size is what I was looking for. But you can definitely make it with a longer tassel fringe by having these pieces start off as longer pieces. And again, these pieces that I've used are 4mm, and they're 15 inches. So we're gonna go around again like we did and tighten these up nice and snug. So that's the 3rd row. 1 more row, and then we'll create the neck of the tassel. Okay, so you can see here that we really don't have very much cord here, but that's part of the technique of creating the head, is everything's going to get kind of cinched in on itself, and then these ends will become a little bit longer. But we'll go around and we'll snug all these up like we've done on the previous rows. So this is the last row for the head. So this is 4 rows of the little woven spiral. and get these snugged up really, really tight. So you can see right here, this is long. You're going to your cord that behind it and pulling it snug. So if I pull this one, it's going to tighten this right here. So you just want to keep your hand on it and snug it up real good. Now these cords are still going to end up a little bit longer, because now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're going to push forward. Okay. I had to stop because I have a kitty cat visiting me, so we may get him in our shot pretty soon, which he loves macrame, so he'll probably lay down and start playing with things. So now what we're going to do, we've pushed that end up, so you can see in here there's like a little hole. These can actually be filled with styrofoam balls to make the head really round if you're just doing that, but typically this style needs extra cords, so I end up filling it with cord, a knot and then the cord, and I'll show you that in a minute. But right now what we're doing, we push that forward, and then we're just going to kind of keep working around this, and you hold on to it and you cinch it a little bit and kind of pull up on it, and it starts forming a circle or a ball, more of a ball shape. And you're going to push on it and kind of finesse the shape of it a little bit, and it tightens up, and in doing that it makes the fringe longer. So that's where you're headed with that. You're trying to make just a nice little even tassel head. So from here, we're going to take these 4 strands, and these are going to go inside this hole, and they're going to add more cord. Okay, so the kitty cat joined us. I had to kind of rearrange a little bit, but we love our baby, so he stays. So with these cords, we're going to tie a knot in the middle. So you want to start and just do a little overhand knot. And this is basically going to form the head, or fill up the head of the tassel head. It'll get kind of shoved into this, it'll get shoved into this hollow part here. So you want it nice and snug. You're not going to see it, but you want your cords that come out to be even as such. And then this guy goes in here. So now you have more cords down there, which is lovely. So now we're going to make the neck of the tassel. We're going to cinch this up just a little bit more snug again. And then go in the middle and just kind of push that knot in there nicely. So now we're going to work on creating this neck that locks the tassel in place and locks all of these cords in place. So we've got this snugged up into a nice kind of firm ball there. We want to make sure that knot is up there, so just kind of get your finger in the middle and push them up there a little bit. And then this is where we're going to use one of these longer 3mm, so it's smaller than what the whole tassel is made out of, and I use a 3mm. And we're going to do a gathering knot. So on a gathering knot, you want to start with one end facing up, make a little loop facing down, and on these I do 5 wraps typically. So you're going to hold those 2 cords there with your thumb, and your first wrap going around just needs to be nice and snug up at the top, focusing on keeping these cords together. So on your second wrap, you're going to go just below your first wrap, Now you can kind of ease up on how you're holding it up here because it's locked in place. And you're going to keep wrapping. And depending upon how long your cord is, it's either going to go 4 or 5 wraps. My goal is 5 wraps here. So we have that cord after it's gone through 5 wraps. We're going to now put it through this loop. And again, you can work with longer cords. It is easier to work with a little bit longer cord. I'm just using scrap. The other thing I like to do is I like to cinch up, kind of tighten up this top wrap. And you can do that by actually pulling on the bottom loop. So if you pull on it a little bit, you can cinch that top row up. And it actually tends to make it lay a little more even when you're all done. So there you go, that wrapping cord, you're just gonna hold in place now, and it's gone through the loop at the bottom. So your next thing is to pull your top strand of that gathering knot up. And your goal is to get this cord end to go into the gathering knot. So you're just gonna pull it up, and so it's just snugged in. And then you'll just come through. You can pull them all the way through, but sometimes when you do that, it likes to pull it all the way through and actually kind of undo the knot. So you want to be real careful not to pull it all the way through. It just needs to be in the middle of that gathering knot. And then we're going to snip off up here. And these can be like tucked into that gathering knot using like the end of your scissors or a crochet hook or something like that. So now I go through and I snug all of these ends. So you'll see when I pull on it, it's going to snug it up a little bit right there. And this is going to make the knot up here a little more round. And that one's snugging up there. So as you go around, you want to put these cords up to the top so you don't continue to pull on things 2 and 3 times. You only want to pull on it once until it's kind of a little more snug. So that's what you do. You go around just to snug it up. That's getting tight. So and these are adding length to your cord too, which is what you want. So now that has made this end a little more round. You've tightened them all up and it's made it more even as well. And now these end strands are just going to get trimmed off even, or you can leave them a little uneven. A lot of people like that look. I actually do. I like kind of on some of my designs, kind of an unfinished look, but for this particular one for me, they're just going to get trimmed off. Usually when I'm trimming a tassel, I go from both directions and then do a second little trim. Keep turning it. That way if there's any like little points, you're able to get them off. But for the most part, that's where you're at. So now I just take a little brush, and I have a couple different, I know you might think I've used it on a cat. I haven't, but they're cat brushes. And I use the ones with the little bouncy thing to get the fuzz out. So these are on Amazon. They're easy to find at your grocery store. But I go through and I brush out like the bottom half of the tassel. Now this is going to change the length of the tassel as well, because it's going to make it a little bit longer when you unravel the ply. And you'll just go through Thank you for watching. I hope that you will subscribe to my YouTube channel because it does help. Follow me, definitely follow me, subscribe, and set up notifications because I will continue to create more unique macrame projects and little tips and tutorials. Thank you for joining me today.